Park Ranger Horror Volume 2, Case File 9106, The Voice That Wasn't Theirs. Every case file has two versions, the one they filed and the one they buried. Some reports end with a body. This one ends with a recording nobody can explain. This is the Nightmare Zoo. Case File 9106 was never supposed to leave the district office. It wasn't filed as a disappearance. It wasn't filed as an animal attack. It was filed officially as an equipment malfunction incident. 3 words that took 11 pages to explain and still explained nothing. In October of 1991, a 5-person search and rescue team was dispatched into a stretch of backcountry the district had already quietly restricted after the events documented in Case File 88 to 14C, the case of Ranger Callahan, the folded jacket, the sound below the ridge. Officially, that case was closed. Unofficially, every ranger in that district knew exactly which 6-mile stretch of forest you did not patrol alone, and exactly which ridge line you did not approach after dark. A 1991 team wasn't hunting cryptids or urban legends. They were looking for a real missing person. A hunter named Wexler, 41 years old, last seen near the same coordinates as the 1981 case, the 1985 case, and Callahan's case 8 years earlier. 4 disappearances, same 6-mile radius, spanning a decade. Nobody in that district believed in coincidence anymore. They just didn't have permission to say what they believed instead. Against his supervisor's recommendation, because his brother-in-law had been on the 85 search and had never fully recovered from it. Not physically, but the kind of damage that ends careers quietly, without anyone using the word damage out loud. Holt brought 4 rangers with him, Nguyen, Petrov, Alvarez, and a young trainee named Dobbs, who had been on the job less than 4 months. Standard protocol required 6-hour radio check-ins with Base. Holt insisted on 90-minute intervals instead. Base thought he was being overly cautious. Base was wrong about what cautious needed to mean. The first 4 check-ins were unremarkable. Grid search, difficult terrain, no visual on Wexler. At the 5th check-in, 90 minutes before sunset, dispatch logged something odd. Holt's transmission came through, gave the standard status update, and then, according to the dispatcher's contemporaneous notes, repeated itself. Word for word. Same sentence, same inflection, twice in a row, 11 seconds apart, as if the recording had looped rather than been spoken twice. Dispatch radioed back to confirm. Holt answered normally. He had no memory of repeating himself. He assumed it was a transmission glitch and moved on. It was not a transmission glitch. At the 6th check-in, 90 minutes later, full dark had fallen. This transmission is the one you can still find referenced, heavily redacted, in the equipment malfunction report, because unlike the others, 3 separate dispatchers were in the room when it came through, and none of them have ever agreed to stop talking about it, even decades later, even after being told not to. The transmission was Holt's voice. It gave the team's call sign correctly. It gave their approximate grid position correctly. And then it said, in a tone the dispatch log describes only as flat, wrong pacing, a sentence Holt never sent. We found him. He wants us to stay? Dispatch tried to raise Holt directly. Nothing. They tried Nguyen, nothing. They tried the 2 remaining channels assigned to Petrov and Alvarez. Both channels returned the exact same transmission, word for word, at the exact same volume, arriving within 4 seconds of each other. 3 different radios. We found him. He wants us to stay. A rescue team was assembled within the hour, the fastest deployment in the district's recorded history, driven less by protocol and more by 5 experienced men suddenly refusing, quietly and without discussion, to wait until morning. They found the original team's base camp exactly where it should have been. Tents intact, packs untouched. A camp stove still faintly warm, as if abandoned only minutes earlier rather than hours. They found 4 out of 5 radios stacked in a neat row on a flat rock at the center of camp, powered on, channels open, batteries still reading near full, arranged with the same unnerving, deliberate precision that had marked every scene in every case file going back a decade. Folded jackets, untied boots set side by side. Now, radios, lined up like they'd been placed there for someone to find. The 5th radio, Holtz, was never recovered. Of the 5 Rangers, 3 were found. Nguyen was located 11 hours later, roughly a mile from camp, sitting upright against a tree, uninjured, fully conscious, and unable, or unwilling, to speak a single word for the following 6 days. When he finally did speak, his account was 2 sentences long, and the district scrubbed it from every version of the report except the one that was never meant to leave the office. It wasn't using his mouth right. It knew the words, but it didn't know how a person says them. Petrov and Dobbs were found separately, both alive, both physically unharmed, both giving accounts that were taken but never officially transcribed. Alvarez was found 4 days later, badly dehydrated, 3 miles outside the search perimeter, walking calmly along a service road in the opposite direction of camp, moving, according to the ranger who found him, like he had somewhere specific to be. Holt was never found. The official case file, the version anyone can request today through a public record search, states that the incident was caused by radio equipment failure resulting in signal duplication and cross-transmissions, and that team leader Holt is presumed to have become separated from his unit and succumbed to exposure. It recommends improved equipment maintenance protocols going forward. It does not mention the 11-word sentence. It does not mention that 4 different radios, on 4 different frequencies, produced the same voice at the same moment. It does not mention Nguyen's 6 days of silence, or the 2 sentences he finally said. 2 of the 3 surviving Rangers left the service within a year. The 3rd, Petrov, stayed 26 more years, rose to district supervisor, and according to the same off-record source, who described Callahan's jacket, personally ensured that every new ranger assigned to that 6-mile stretch received one instruction that has never appeared in any handbook. If your radio repeats itself, stop transmitting. Do not respond to anything that answers back. That 6-mile stretch remains closed to public backcountry permits to this day. There is one more detail buried in the equipment malfunction file, filed almost as an afterthought by the dispatcher who logged the 6th check-in. She noted the exact time the duplicate transmission was received across all 3 channels, 9:14 p.m. She also noted, in the margin, something dispatch procedure never requires, but that she apparently felt necessary to put in writing. Ranger Callahan's final transmission, 8 years earlier, in a different case file, before he walked toward a sound no one could explain, was logged at 9:14 p.m. as well. 4 radios, 1 voice. A team leader who was never found. The district still won't say what Nguyen meant when he said it didn't know how a person says the words. Next week, Case File 9402, the ranger station log entry written in handwriting that wasn't Holt's, dated 3 years after he disappeared. If you don't want to be the last to know, subscribe now. The Nightmare Zoo. Some files are still open.